So, good evening, esteemed leaders, colleagues, and friends. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the 11th edition of the Unfolding Capacity Leadership Masterclass, a space where leadership is reimagined, reshaped, and reignited for greater impact in our communities, organizations, and nations. Tonight's theme is both timely and urgent: effective leadership in a fast-changing world. We are living through times defined by a rapid technological disruption, social transformation, and economic uncertainty. The world around us is shifting, and so must our leadership. Gone are the days when position alone could lead. Today, resilience, adaptability, clarity, and courage are the marks of truly effective leaders. This theme calls each of us to rise above routine leadership and embrace the kind that is responsive to change, grounded in purpose, and committed to the people. It's a call to not just survive the change, but to lead through it. And to guide us in this important conversation, we are honored to have with us a leader who embodies the very essence of this theme, and that is Dr. Charles Igwe. Dr. Charles is a seasoned program leader, an educator, and mentor with over 20 years of leadership experience across nuclear energy, construction, and advanced manufacturing. He currently leads Canada's national hydrogen and tritium programs at Canadian nuclear laboratories and teaches project management in institutions like Algonquin College and Shellick Exec Ed. As Vice President of Professional Development at PMI of VOC, Dr. Charles is a vocal advocate for inclusive leadership and mentoring, shaping future leaders across Canada and beyond. He also hosts the acclaimed Fireside Chat series, creating platforms for underrepresented voices in leadership to be heard and honored. What makes Dr. Charles Igwe truly exceptional is not just his experience, but his energy, his empathy, and vision. He leads with people at the center and purpose as a driver. So tonight, I invite you all as leaders to listen closely, take notes, and lean into this moment because what you're about to hear could shift how you lead in the days to come. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in warmly welcoming our guest speaker, Dr. Charles Igwe, into our platform tonight. Dr. Charles, I want you to just go at it, man, and share your heart in this powerful theme of effective leadership in a fast-changing world. Go at it.
All right. Thank you. Amazement. That was a spot on by you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna crave your indulgence and seek your active participation. I'll be monitoring the chat, and to actually get the best use of this hour and hour 30 minutes together, I suggest we participate. Leadership is participatory. You can't attain leadership or become a good leader by just being an observer. So today, I'll take you through just 15 slides or less. I would go through what it means to lead in a changing world. And the aim of this is to help us master the art of steering yourself and your team through constant disruption. Leadership actually starts with self. You got to be able to lead yourself before you can be able to lead others. So, what are the objectives and the expected takeaway? The first objective is to understand why today's challenges demand more than technical fixes. Now, you find that over 79.7% of organizations would need to change their strategies or actively change their strategies every 2 to 5 years. By understanding today's challenges and the demands of leadership for today's challenges, you will grasp a diagnostic lens, technical and adaptive, grounded in a global why now statistics. So the question is, why now? Why do we have to constantly talk about leadership? Why not now? We've got technology disrupting the way we look at business. We've got Gen AI making everyone an incidental or an accidental project manager. We have everyone becoming an incidental or accidental leader because of Gen AI. Now, what do I mean by incidental or accidental leader? Leadership is something that is learned. Some people are born with it, but you actually need to learn the skills of leadership. Now, part of this presentation would show us some of the techniques we can apply to become good leaders, some techniques we can apply to help us lead in an ever-changing world. Now, again, use the chat. If there are questions you need to ask, please put it in the chat. If I'm going too fast, please put it in the chat. If you want me to go a little bit slower, please put it in the chat or unmute yourself and let's just have a conversation. I consider this a town hall meeting, right? So do not be afraid or do not feel shy to turn on your mic and let's have an honest conversation. Number two, we will explore the core moves of adaptive leadership and how we can employ this to navigate ambiguity. We'll look at three core tenets of adaptive leadership: the diagnose, the mobilize, and the anchor. Now, these are three core moves of adaptive leadership. And the truth is, to be a really good leader and to stay relevant, you must be able to adapt. What does it mean to adapt? Adaptation means the ability to change, the ability to be able to influence an environment by being a part of that environment. That is what adaptation is. Then three, we will recognize, how do you flex your leadership style? How do you flex your leadership muscle in real time? I use the word leadership muscle because in truth, it's a muscle we grow. No one is born an effective leader. Some are, but eventually they have to hone that leadership. They have to modernize that leadership. They have to adapt that leadership based on the people they lead. So I'll show us how we can move from directing to coaching, from coaching to supporting, from supporting to delegating. Now the question is, why change? How do I get this off the screen? I can drag you off. Oh yeah, I can. Good. So question, why change now? Why this topic now? Now, in today's landscape, nearly 80% of all organizations must revisit or overhaul their strategy every 2 to 5 years. Why do they need to do this? Of course, we need to keep pace with accelerating disruptions, not just technology. There are lots of things disrupting the market space or the business climate today. Tariffs are one of them. Leadership or lack of leadership is one of them. We see how Trump and his leadership is throwing uncertainties into the market. Today, the market is crashing. Tomorrow, the market is rising just because of uncertainty in the decision-making of someone in authority. Then we also see technology. Most organizations are struggling or trying to understand, how do we still remain competitively advantageous, or how do we stay competitive in this environment? To be able to stay competitive, you must constantly look at your system. You must constantly look at your services and ask yourself, will my customers, will my clients still pay top dollar for the service I'm providing? 96% of organizations are currently undergoing some sort of transformation right now. This data is very telling. And I think it's true, because in my organization, we're undergoing a sort of change. Now, just stop for a moment and think, what organization do you know of that is not going through one type of change at this moment? I'll let us take a pause to think. Now, whatever changes organizations are going through, we can look at it from two lenses or two perspectives. The first perspective is the technical challenges. What is the characteristics of technical challenges? They're well defined. We kind of know the problem. Some sort of solution exists. How do leadership respond to technical challenges? Easy. We simply leverage existing expertise. We follow well-known processes. However, there is another kind of challenge that most organizations are grappling with today, and it's the one that has to do with adaptive challenges. Now, what are the characteristics of adaptive challenges? They are ambiguous. The solution is not known. And it is these adaptive challenges that actually makes good leaders. Why? Because you're showing the ability to think outside the box, the ability to provide solutions that does not currently exist. Now let's take a quick poll. Please use the chat. I'm going to take your chat and see what your responses are. Your responses will determine how the rest of the class goes, because I prepare this two ways. If I get more technical challenges, we'll go technical. If I get more adaptive challenges, we go adaptive. So what challenges feels most pressing for you right now? Put it in the chat, okay? Adaptive. We've got one adaptive. Hey, people, you don't respond. I don't teach. Oh, thank you. Adaptive. Yep. Now, you will find that most of the challenges will be adaptive. Now, these are challenges that you come across nearly every day at work. Now, I see someone say both adaptive and technical. The technical challenges are a little bit easier to fix. No? Because for the technical challenges, you would maybe have a standard operating procedure. You can maybe call, if it's a software issue, you can maybe call the company that designed the software to ask the technical questions. However, adaptive challenges come at you hard and fast, and these are what sets you apart in your drive or in your quest to become a truly great leader. Now, we've established that change is urgent. Nearly every organization, research from KPMG shows that 96% of all organizations are going through some sort of change. Now, we know that change is inevitable. Now, it's time to revisit one of the old age trusted change management model, Kota. Now, Kota's first step says in every change, we need to be able to create a sense of urgency. What does it mean to create a sense of urgency? I know a change is required, but guess what? If I am the only one who feels the need for that change, how do I get others to key into the change and support the change? So for every meaningful change, there has to be a sense of urgency. need to build a guiding coalition. What's the guiding coalition? A group of people who would support your vision, who believes in the change. And then the vision needs to be communicated. Now, even though Kotter's 8th step feels very static, you got to be able to do step 1, and step 2, and step 3. The focus of this lecture is not on Kotter. I'm only using Kotter to show you how we can cross-pollinate ideas between framework. The first 3 stages of Kotter's model: create a sense of urgency, build a guiding coalition, and form and communicate vision. All of these are static. How do we apply this towards adaptive leadership? If we say a true leader, the hallmark of a true leader is your ability to navigate change. What kind of change? Regulatory change, business change, change in the marketplace, change in customer expectation. Even those you're leading, change in their expectations of how they expect to be led. Now, these 3 stages will take us to what I call the diagnose phase. The diagnose phase is part of what I call the adaptive leadership toolkit. Stage 1, 2, 3 of Kotter is the same as the diagnose stage. Would look at that and would actually use a case study to embed our learning. The next 3 stages: empower broad-based action, generate short-term wins, and consolidate gains. These together make up the mobilize phase of the adaptive leadership framework. Again, remember, the essence of this presentation is how can I effectively lead in a world that is ever changing? What sort of change are we talking about here, people? Whatever sort of change you can think about, it falls within this framework. Empower, generate, consolidate falls within the mobilize phase of the adaptive framework. Then finally, we look at the anchor new approaches, then sustain momentum. This is where we anchor. For those of us that are fishermen or those of us that are sailors, we know what an anchor does, right? An anchor holds a ship or a vessel in place. Without the anchor, what happens? The vessel can drift away into the ocean. So we need that anchor to hold the vessel in place. The same way, every change, we need to anchor that change on something. So when people say, this change ain't working, ask yourself, what have I anchored this change on? Now, you really don't need to memorize these steps. Let's not memorize it. But before we move away from this slide, which of Kotter's steps resonates most with the challenge you're facing? So in your organization, in your small business, in your family, your relationship, because again, change applies to every aspect of our lives. Now, take a pause and ask yourself, what step out of this 8 resonates the most with a challenge you're facing? Are you trying to create a sense of urgency? Let's say you're single and you're trying to get married. Your parents are pressuring you. Charles, get married. Abdul, get married. I'm like, okay. You could be in stage 1. You're creating a sense of urgency, putting yourself out there, telling your friends, hey, I think I'm ready to get married. Right? So again, please use the chat. If you do not respond, I'm going to be here till somebody responds to me. All right. Sustain and scale momentum. That's a huge one. Because it's very easy for momentum to be lost in every change initiative. So thank you. Sustain and scale momentum. Who else? Now, if you guys are not contributing, How are we going to go? How are we going to do the case study? Because I need you to actually put hand to paper to practice the adaptive mindset. All right, thank you. We build a guiding coalition, empower broad-based action. All right. Now, let us look at the core moves of adaptive leadership. This is where you pay attention. The first stage is what we call the diagnose. If you're a lawyer, if you're a doctor, you know what diagnosis means. It means they are testing. We don't really know what's wrong, but we're asking, maybe through questions, right? Here you're looking at the different stakeholders. Who are those involved in this project? How does this project affect them? How does this change affect them? Who thinks? Now, there's a difference between who is affected by a change and who thinks they will be affected by a change. Two different people entirely. But in this first stage, you're looking at who is involved. What is the pain point of those that are involved? What are the real issues? You're separating personal opinions from actual issues. This stage is very important because here you need to plot out who is involved, where the real pressure points are, and very importantly, what cultural norms are in play. I use the word cultural norms and I don't use it lightly because culture and cultural appropriation is a very important precursor to success in a project. But how many times do we actually take that into consideration, especially for those of us working in international projects? So the first stage is diagnose. What challenge are you currently experiencing within your team? What challenge are you experiencing in your business? What challenge are you experiencing in your personal life? Now, the reason I bring personal life or our personalities into every presentation is our lives are an indication of how successful we'll be in a project. I'll say that again. How you lead your life, how you live your personal life, is an indication of how successful you would be in a project. So if we apply the principles we teach to our personal lives, first, trust and believe, we would always succeed. In your lives, who are those important to take you to your next stage of your career? In your organization, have you identified a sponsor, someone that believes in you, someone you know would speak your name in offices or in meetings where you're not? That's diagnosis. You need to be able to look at your supporters, look at your stakeholders, look at your network, and ask yourself, who are the key players in my network? How do I stay in their visibility? The same thing with a project. Who's going to give me heat on this project? How am I going to massage their ego? Then after the diagnosis phase, we come to the mobilize phase. Here, you're designing small, safe experiments. You're trying to get stakeholder buy-in. Rather than implement a large-scale solution, you're speaking to the stakeholder. Okay, can we do X, Y, Z? Can we sign an MOU with a contractor first and have that contractor ship maybe 5,000 units of a particular that diode, and let's put that diode into operation and see how it's going to perform? Are you prototyping? Are you testing the solution before application? And I tell you, this is where most project managers fail. We diagnose the problem, We kind of think we know what the solution is because we've spoken to lots of stakeholders, and then we immediately implement a solution. Trust me, it's happened to me, so I'm speaking from experience. At this stage, you need buy-in. At this stage, you need to go back to those stakeholders and get their buy-in. Then the final stage is the anchor. Here, you're now embedding new behaviors, embedding new systems, new routines. Why do we need to anchor? We need to ensure that the change is sustainable. For a change to be sustainable, it needs to be baked into the organizational practice. Okay, let's take your thoughts again. Which core move do you feel most equipped to lead right now? Now, this demands different skill sets. Do you think you're more equipped to diagnose? Do you think you're more equipped to mobilize? Or do you think you're more equipped to anchor? Let's get your response on the chart. Diagnose, okay? That's an important first stage because you really need to understand the stakeholders. Now, after diagnosis, mobilization takes another different skill set. Miss Faith, diagnose also, okay? Let's get your thoughts. Let's get your thoughts. Diagnose, mobilize, or anchor. Takalani, diagnose, okay? Or mobilize, buy-in, beautiful. However, I would love for you to expand more on mobilize, okay? All right, now, let's talk about the diagnosis stage. I would use an example of a project I'm currently leading. The project I'm currently leading in one organization, my hands are in it, a couple of different organizations, was to lead a change management initiative to introduce a program management framework. Right? Now, the diagnosis phase was, why do we actually need a program management framework? Who are the key stakeholders that would say, hey, Charles, what are you doing? We don't really need this. That was the diagnosis stage. So I had to know who are the VPs, who are the program leads, who are the key decision makers in terms of governance within the different missions in my organization. Diagnose. Now, after we diagnose, then become the issue. What's your go-to-market strategy? How do you implement the framework? Now, remember, in diagnosing, I'm looking at the key decision makers, the vice presidents, the DVPs, the assistant and vice presidents, the directors, the key decision makers, different stakeholder group. In mobilizing, I needed those with boots on the ground, the project managers, the project leaders. Hey, Choice, what are you doing currently? What framework are you using? Can I see your templates? I'm not going to go ask the VP for a template because the VP doesn't know nothing about project management templates, right? So that's a different skill set. Understanding the right set of people to help you move your idea from the drawing board to implementing. And again, those will not be the top decision makers. Those are actually people with foot on the ground. We call them boots on the ground. Your technicians, your foremen, your risk analyst, your business analyst. That's mobilizing, putting together the architecture to help you execute what you diagnosed. Is that clear enough? Give me a thumbs up if that's clear enough. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, people.
Yes, it's clear.
Perfect. So it takes a different skill set. To be honest, both the three different stages demand different skill sets. For the diagnose, you need to be analytical because you're deep diving. You're asking the 5 whys. You're doing your fishbone analysis. You're doing your Pareto analysis to check the 80-20. That's diagnose. You need technical skills to diagnose. To mobilize, you really don't need more technical skills. Now you need more soft skills because you're dealing with people with big egos. That's a different skill set. In anchoring, you need a little bit of both. You need to know the technical side a little to be able to speak it, the technical language, to the technical people, and speak the non-technical language to the non-technical people, and then able to convince them why the process works, why the change is important, why they should move to Gen AI instead of using Excel sheets. Why? Because you know about Gen AI, technical, you have the soft skill to convince them. So when I asked, where do you see yourself applying the most? And most of you said diagnosis, diagnosis, diagnosis. I love diagnosis, but really, you need to start moving from diagnosis to mobilize to anchor because that is where the real conversations happen. That's where the real convincing happens. That's where the real change happens. All right. Now, we've looked at diagnose, mobilize, and anchor. In going through these 3 phases, there are leadership styles that we need to display or we need to implement, we need to apply. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Why does it get a little bit tricky? Everyone in your team may require a slightly different leadership style. For some, all you need to do is to direct them. What does it mean to direct? A team member is new to the task. A business analyst just started the job and doesn't quite know what to do. There you are directing. Choice. Please produce the Excel sheet and I want it to be macro enabled. On column F, please ensure that everything from column A to E tallies to column F, and then on column G, take the average of the columns. Eventually, I want to see a dashboard that shows the sales figure on one side and the incoming revenue. That's direction. You're telling Choice exactly what to do. Why? Because maybe Choice is new to the job, or Choice doesn't have much experience on how to do this. Therefore, Choice requires to be directed. That is a leadership style. You're providing clear, specific instructions, and then you go about to monitor the feedback. That's one. Another leadership style is the coaching leadership style. Now, Choice has been in the organization for 6-7 months. She now knows how to prepare all of the Excel sheets. She knows how to do the data entry. She knows how to do the profit and loss account. Said Baba knows how to do the bending moment for the shear force. Said he didn't know how to do this 6 months ago, but now he knows. Why? Because you've directed him to follow a method that you trust as his leader. Eventually, if you keep directing Seidu or you keep directing Choice, they'll get angry. They'll feel untrusted. Why? Because at that point, they develop some sort of competency. So what do? You move from directing to coaching. Here, you're no longer giving specific instructions, but you're explaining the rationale behind the instruction. Hi, Seidu, and please consider the bending moment only on the simply supported beam. On the continuous beam, leave the bending moment at that side because we're going to anchor it to the other building. You're explaining to Seidu. And say, you say, oh, Charles, I think that makes sense. What if we anchor it on one end? That's a conversation. In the past, I just told Seidu or Choice what to do. But as they start developing competence, you need to start adjusting your leadership style. That is what is adaptive leadership. What is adaptive leadership really? Situational leadership. Then from coaching, you move to supporting. Now the team is competent, but they're still a little bit shy. Still afraid to take responsibility. Now you're giving what we call more. I'm Nigerian. You want to give someone, you want to hype someone, more. Whatever you do, you're psyching the person up. Hey, say to my guy, you can't do it. All those are just psychs. But those psychs is support. I'm telling the team, I believe in your competence. You may not see it, but I believe in your competence. That is where your leadership skill really starts to shine through. When you start raising leaders, other leaders, when you start raising people who you believe in to get the job done, and then you give them all of the support from the side. You let them take the glory. Because what does the glory do? The glory empowers. The glory gives more confidence, but you're doing the work behind as their leader and showing support. But most leaders will take all of the glory. You do the work, they take the glory. Trust me, I have seen lots of that in my 20 years of working. Any leader that cannot truly give their people space to shine, speak about their people in rooms they are not, there is a lot to be desired in your leadership. Then from support, we go to delegate. Now I am confident, very confident that Fondway can do the job. So I'm saying, Fondway, I believe in you, go get it done. As we cultivate our leadership skills, it is important that you know when to move from directing to coaching, from coaching to supporting, from supporting to delegating. There's this popular saying that people do not leave a bad organization. People leave because of bad leadership or bad line management. Do not be that leader that would make someone leave your organization because you did not show support, you did not delegate enough, you were not there to coach or direct them. We need to understand the level of support we provide to the team. I'll give you an example. I recently organized a project management conference in Ottawa, and I organized that conference using volunteers. In the past, we would pay an event management firm to help us do the project management and organize, and it would cost us close to 20, 30,000 USD. Last year, I'm like, come on, why go spend 20K on an event management firm when we are project managers? So guess what? We used an entire team of volunteers to execute the project. And these folks had zero event management experience. Of course, they had some project management experience, but zero event management experience. Now, because I've been part of the organizing committee of several conferences, I had battle scars. So when I first onboarded the volunteers, guess what? I directed them step by step, created a planning board on Trello that we later moved to MS Teams. On that event board, tasks were listed. We used a RACI chart to show who was responsible, accountable, to be kept informed for each task. So basically, I directed. Now, 1, 2, 3. By the third month, they picked up skills sufficiently to start asking me questions. Oh, Charles, can we do this instead of this? Why are we using this venue? The venue is downtown and parking is very difficult. Why didn't we use that venue? Why are we using this caterer? Can we get in-house caterer? They started asking questions where 3 months ago, nobody was asking questions. Everyone was doing exactly what I said to do. But as they gained confidence, they started asking. Now, this also should apply to you in your journey to leadership. How often do you ask questions of your leadership? How often do you go back to your leader and ask for a honest feedback on a task that you just accomplished? Most of us are shy to do that. If you do not do that, how do you give your leader the opportunity to properly coach you? So 3 months later, I moved from directing to coaching. In less than 5 months, they were taking my ideas and basically trashing it. Charles, I think I can get a cheaper alternative for your photographer. I think we can do sponsorship in kind. We promote them and they come to the event. All right. You think you can do it? All right, go get it done. So basically, they started suggesting ideas. Why were they able to suggest ideas? I was sat at home from my computer. They were going out to the field, visiting the hotels, talking to vendors, sampling photographs, looking at venues. So they had more flair or more feel for the event than I did. And because I trusted them, I'm like, all right, let's go with your idea. The truth is, some of the ideas failed woefully. But the fact that they were able to suggest and put forth the idea was gold in itself. Then from supporting, move to delegating. All right. Onome, please take care of the venue. The only thing I want to see, I really don't want to see the contract also, right? Go take care of it. Sign the contract with the venue. After you've signed, let me see the contract. Charles, that's too much of a responsibility. And I'm like, all right, so you want me to sign and be accountable? All right, put my name as a second signee, but sign the contract. Now, she went ahead with so much fear, signed the contract. But guess what? Before she signed the contract, she read that contract document, almost 9 pages, back to back to back to back. She came back and asked me questions I had not even considered. Why? Because I didn't read the document the way she read it. I knew what I was looking for in the document. I was looking for, all right, how many rooms are you providing? What is the cost per meal? Those are what I was looking for. But she looked at the smaller fine prints, such as the terms of payment. When is payment due? What happens if we don't use up to the number on the contract? All of those small details. Why? Because the responsibility was delegated to her. As leaders or as potential leaders, we should know when to delegate responsibilities. And you should also know when to ask for more. Ask for more if you're not giving. Because by asking for more, you're creating room to be coached. You're creating room to be supported. You're creating room to have more work delegated to you. Any questions so far? All right. Now we've looked at the leadership styles. A very important question in the issue of change management, application of change in an ever-evolving world is, how do we embed this change? How do we cause the change to stick? What are we going to do? Too much work put in already? What will make the change stick? I've got 3 solutions for us, 3 tactics. Tactics number 1, empower local champions. What do I mean by local champions? And why does this matter? A local champion is anyone at any level within the organization who has a vested interest in that change and will be an advocate, an evangelist, a carrier of that change. They are advocates. Those are local champions. No, beyond advocates, they assume ownership of the change. Now, I'll tell you how I rose in my organization to the height I've risen to in less than 2 years. I made myself a local champion in every change initiative I heard about in my organization. I'm asking, how can I help? I'm here. Use me. Send me. The truth is, most times it was ignored. But 50% of the time, I keep hearing, oh, Charles, thank you for offering. We'll call you when we need you. Do they call back sometimes? No. But that is how you get your foot into an organization, by helping to embed any change. Now, it would shock you that there was a research by Willie Stowers in 2019. This research showed that any organization that embedded local champions in any change witnessed an 18% increase in productivity. 18% increase in productivity. So do not shy away from asking to be a local champion. I call myself, I'm a local champion. Now, people don't understand what I mean when I say I'm a local champion. That means anywhere I find myself, I am your local champion. For those of us that have been in the same meetings with me or been in the same conferences with me, you would attest to that. I'm always looking for something to do to leave a lingering taste in people's mouths. Oh, I met Charles. Have you met Charles? That's a local champion mentality. Number 2, ritualize small wins. We do not do this enough. You write an exam, you pass. You don't take yourself out and celebrate yourself. You write an exam, you fail. You don't take yourself out to say, hey, I failed. I'm going to go have a drink for failing. At least I know one way not to fail the next time. Or I'm going to call my friends and tell them I failed. And we're going to go celebrate together. You need those kind of friends in your life. Ritualize small wins. A failure is a win, because a failure shows you how not to do it. But how many times do we ritualize small wins? The human brain latches onto positive feedback. If I tell you, Takalani, you are great, you are awesome, trust me, Takalani would remember that statement, especially if it was made in truth and honesty. It goes for your team also. Ritualize small wins. If you're a team leader, carve out a tiny 60 seconds, 45 seconds to acknowledge a performer for the week. Julia, thank you so much. Julia was our greatest performer for last week. She clocked XYZ, and Julia is there blushing. Why? You've celebrated Julia. Next year or next week, Julia wants to give her best. Humbulani wants to compete with Julia to become the best. So her name will be on the wall of fame. Just by celebrating small wins. You create a flag and give it to Julia and say, Julia, you are the best. Just to celebrate small wins. Guess what? 22% of organizations that celebrate small wins experience a 22% increase in productivity. Amazing. Amazing. 22% increase in productivity just by saying, thank you, Fondwe. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Maribana. Thank you, Lutendo. Just by saying thank you. 22%. Now, as a leader, how does this data affect you? Now, imagine that your team is 22% more productive just because you ritualized small wins. Friday shout out, ritualize small wins. Buy them donuts and coffee, ritualize small wins. Send an email to the entire team about their performance, ritualize small wins. The little things. Amazement, how many minutes do I have more?
We've got about 10 minutes.
Okay, so I'm gonna make this faster then. Then finally, integrate into existing system. Do not entirely revamp the system. Don't. Nobody wants to learn a new tool or a new process in isolation. Always find a way to ensure whatever change you're proposing fits into an existing system. How do we cultivate adaptive mindset? Now, adaptive mindset is the cornerstone of effective leadership. It enables you to diagnose complex challenges. An adaptive mindset includes, number one, a growth mindset. What is a growth mindset? You believe that intelligence can be developed through effort. Anybody can learn and do anything they set their mind to. That's a growth mindset. 64% of senior leaders report enhanced productivity and performance when their organizations adopt a growth mindset. 64%. So that means a growth mindset is important, the ability to learn. Psychological safety is another adaptive mindset you must create. What's psychological safety? As a leader, you must create an environment where everyone feels safe. Everyone feels that the ideas will be heard. 20% increase in productivity has been shown or proven where there was psychological safety. Then there is system thinking, the ability to see the big picture. A 2014 Bolton Consulting Group study showed that organizations embedding system thinking experience 15 to 25% increase in process improvement. And finally, experimentation. You must be able to try your luck. Now, LinkedIn iterative A and B testing methodology yielded 20% improvement in one of its primary user engagement metrics. So, an adaptive mindset includes a growth mindset, psychological safety, system thinking, and experimentation. All right? Now, this was a case study I prepared to help us reinforce the learning, but apparently we ran out of time. I thought this was supposed to be a 90 minutes presentation, but appears it's 60 minutes instead. So I'll leave us with this. I'll send us the slides. Now, when you look at this presentation, do it on your own. It's a simple case study, right? In this case study, what's your diagnosis? Who needs to know what? How do you mobilize and how do you anchor? So in the first stage, you would identify one critical stakeholder. You would address first, that's diagnosing. And how do you do this? You add their name and the coaching style you intend to use. Second stage, you mobilize. The third stage, you anchor. So again, the case study would help us try our hands on this. It's going to take you not less than 5-10 minutes to do, but I suggest you do this when you get the slides for this material. Okay, so we started with diagnose, right? As part of the season objectives, we said we're going to teach us how to lead effectively in an ever-changing world using the diagnose, mobilize methodology. So in diagnosing, we looked at technical skills, we looked at adaptive skills. In mobilize, we propose a rapid experiment and match the right decision style. Like this is where we look at what's the decision style to use. How do I ensure my people are carried along? And in anchoring, you're looking at building a simple ritual, maybe a weekly check-in, a monthly check-in, to ensure that your team is embedding the outcomes. How do we ensure the outcome of this training is embedded? In your challenges, in your change initiatives, identify key stakeholders and recognize what coaching style is appropriate for them. Propose is a pilot to a challenge, that's mobilization practice. Identify the problem, look for a small way to test your solution, and find a way to anchor your solution by pinpointing an easy process. So wrap up, reflect, and commit. This week, my challenge to you is identify one real challenge in your place of work. Decide what situational leadership style to apply. And then choose one macro habit to reinforce an adaptive mindset. My name is Charles Igwe. I remain the presenter for this learning. And connect with me on LinkedIn if you're interested. And question. It's your time to ask questions if you have any. If not, hasta la vista, babies.
Wow, Charles. Wow, amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Yeah, I'm glad someone puts it nicely, says this is more like a leadership course 101. Yeah, it felt like a workshop that, my goodness. I think I'm gonna allow few comments, 2 or 3 comments. I'm just saying, wow, what a presentation, and all of that in the chat room. If you'd like to make a comment boldly, please, or make a question, please go ahead and ask or make a comment. Yeah, please go ahead. Just show by raising your hand.
If you don't make a comment or ask a question, next time I'm invited, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no.
Yes. Any question or comment, please? You can unmute yourself and just go ahead, please.
Good evening, Dr. Nemaungani.
Yes, hi, ma'am.
Hi. No, we are being empowered, and thank you so much to today's presenter. Every day is a learning curve, so the growth mindset is right at work here. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Thank you for thanking me.
Thank you. There's a question here. It says that between any of the 3 process methods, does one's leadership have to change?
Your leadership style is actually fluid, right? So when we talk about situational leadership, you're trying to adapt your leadership based on those you're leading. Like we saw, for some folks, you need to direct them. For some others, you need to have conversation with them, right? For some others, again, you just need to say, hey, go do this. But you actually cannot apply one style to everyone, otherwise you will frustrate those you're leading. Good question.
Yeah, I think it's a very good one. I'm gonna say Xiaomi 2409. Please go ahead and ask your question or make a comment, please.
Hello, everyone. So I just want to make a comment. I'm very happy to be here today because I thought I know things about leadership, but with everything being said here, I think I have a lot of work to do when it comes to my leadership skills, and I'm so happy to be here. So kudos to the host and to the speaker today. I really enjoyed this section. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Jeremy, you can give us your name because I feel so wrong calling you by the name of the brands of your phone. So you just say your name and where you're from. And yeah.
I thought I logged in with my normal account, but I didn't know that I didn't log in. It's Ugo Chinere. I call me Ugo. Yeah.
All right. Hi, Ugo. Welcome and thank you as well. Charles, I have you spoke on a number of issues, right? So I was busy just noting down some questions. And one thing that I noticed as you're speaking, and that just came to my mind, is how easy for leaders to do diagnosis, as you said, and sometimes to anchor, but when it comes to making real change, the challenge we most battle with is in mobilization and
Yep.
just getting things done. And you spoke on how maybe as leaders we need to know how to effectively go and talk and communicate to those who have got boots on the ground and mobilize
Yep.
them. And right here, I mean, including Takalani as well, these are leaders who are leading in environments where they want to bring real changes, but then they've got this challenge on how do we bring this challenge and communicate it well enough that we've got buy-in, even from the bottom level. So maybe with the next 2 to 5 minutes, if you can just expand on that, how do we get that buy-in from the people that we lead, maybe even who are actually the ones at the ground and who can actually make the real changes?
Simple. What's in it for them? That's what they want to know. If you can't convince anyone what their own personal benefit is from partaking in that change, they likely wouldn't come on board. How do you anchor that message? Find out what they want and how your solution can potentially solve their challenge. As an example, I knew that lots of folks had issues grouping projects together and therefore were taking projects individually through getting and sanctioning when you can group projects together. So what was my selling point? Hi, how many hours do you currently spend on getting and sanctioning for each project? And oh, Charles, one project takes me like 1 week. I'm like, how many projects do you have at the moment? Maybe 10. What if I tell you that I can reduce? You can do for 10 what you do for 1. What? That's what's in it for them. When I go to my director, I'm not telling him that. I'm asking him, how much is our current line budget for project management? Oh, Charles, is 10 million. And I'm like, what if I say we can reduce that 10 million to maybe 6 million through a savings? How can we do this, Charles? Oh, simple integrated reporting. Right? So you got to anchor it on what's in it for them, not what's in it for you. If they can't find a reason to get behind the change, then you've not done a good job in articulating the why. Everybody wants to know what's in it for them. Articulate that, and you've got them. And how do you know what's in it from them? For them, you got to be able to speak to them. That's mobilizing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just it sounds so simple, but it's so powerful. It's so powerful. What's in it for them and what's not necessarily what's in it for you. And you see, as much as I'm in the leadership space, I'm also much in the education space. And and I see you have lectured as well, and you have led in the education space. And one of the challenges that we have in Africa is that you find that there are leaders who wants to have progress, qualitative progress in the basic education. But the challenge is that you've got this human resource that are at different levels of their journeys. You've got some who they're at retirement level, so they just want to finish. They just want to
Yep.
count down the
Yep.
years get out of it. And you've got those
Yep.
ones who have been working through different leadership teams, and therefore some of them lost the motivation, and they're not sure if they want. They've had a lot of stories. They've had a lot of people who comes with promises, but who don't actually get things done. And so they're sort of unsure whether to have a full buy-in in the beginning or to wait it out a little bit. And sometimes as leaders, we find ourselves so committed into what moves us and actual ignorant of what moves the people we want to
Oh yeah.
lead and who actually makes the real changes. So what you just said there, it's a mouthful. It's a powerful tip, and I'm sure, yeah, Mr. Wafuni can agree with me that yeah, it's actually a very very helpful tip to actually take down to those who are leading and say, look, let us get the buy-in from everyone by asking the major question: what's in it for them?
Mm. And to add to that, you also need to, when you diagnose, you're also diagnosing your leaders, right? Because part of diagnosis is stakeholder analysis and stakeholder management, where you plot your stakeholders on a graph. The truth is, sometimes you have to be able to make your leaders feel like the decision is theirs, the idea is theirs. Remember, one of the 42 laws of power: never outshine your master. I've seen ideas die just because the leaders were not comfortable. Oh, this is Amazement's idea, right? So they didn't want to get behind the idea because Amazement would take the glory. Remember, we are all human beings. We all love praise. We all love adulation. We all love to be in the limelight. So you also need to know, when do I make it seem like all of the good stuff is coming from my leader and I'm just supporting, but all of the ideas are yours. We know. We know. How do you make your leader think the idea is theirs? Once they get behind the idea, trust me, they would run with it. Once they know what's in it for them. I once told a leader in a previous group. What I said to him was, boss, do you know if we pass this if this document goes in, we did a mentoring plan. And for the longest time, my organization was not able to do mentoring. So I wrote the mentoring plan. He didn't get behind it. And I changed the signature to make him the sole signature. And I said to him, boss, we've been trying to do mentoring for the longest time. If we're able to do a pilot and we succeed, you have a bragging right to go tell the entire organization that what they've been struggling to do, your group succeeded. So I put it in your group. He looked at it. That's true, Charles. Guess what? He ran behind the idea, took up the idea like his, and something that we struggled with for 6 months. In less than 1 year, it flew because the idea felt like his. Right? So someone says, what to do if I encounter resistance from some members of the team? It just means you've not done your work properly. It means you've not articulated what's in it for them. They need to believe what's in it for them. Once you are able to do that, everything becomes easy. So give me an example of the resistance, and I'll tell you how I can reframe that question to get buy-in. Right? It's all about reframing. Go think. If we introduce AI, what's in it for my project leaders? Charles, most of us are going to get sacked. I'm like, yeah, most of us are going to get sacked. Therefore, you have to get ahead of the curve and build resilience by learning these things. Oh, that's true. And guess what? When you learn and put yourself ahead of the curve, AI will not replace you. People using AI will replace you. So there, I've put some sort of fear in the person. Why do you need to learn AI? Because guess what? Well, getting there in the next 6 months. And if we get there and you don't know how to do it, you shot yourself in the foot. So that's the why. What's another why? It's going to make you more employable. Even if you lose your job here, AI is a skill in hard demand. Put it on your CV. Do it for yourself. Forget about what the company is saying. Take advantage of all the training. Get all the certifications. It's for you. It goes on your CV. Oh, really? So, personal interest first before general interest. If you're able to speak to their personal interest, you would overcome resistance.
Wow, Charles.
Any other question?
Yeah. Thank you.
Perhaps a comment.
Yes, Mr.
Yes,
President.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Mr. Charles, for such thought-provoking presentation. I must say, at my age as an elder, I was quite inspired by all the things you said. People do not leave a company or organization, a bad company or organization, but when they leave it's because of leadership.
Yep.
So leadership makes a big difference. And empowering local champions, key of identifying young leaders for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Wow. Thank you so much. Gosh, wow. What a session. Dr. Charles, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone that has joined in for this power-packed session. I'm gonna make you a promise. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to make sure that we have Charles again in the very near future, very, very soon. So I'm
And
gonna,
give me more time, buddy. Give me more time. 1 hour is not enough for me to dance and teach.
yeah, I'm gonna give you some time.
I'm gonna do some
Definitely
dancing
giving
first,
you
bro.
Definitely giving you some time. I think we'll find a way to also make sure that in one of our in-person session we fly you down to South Africa. But yeah, thank you so much to everyone that has participated, and want to wish you all wonderful week. I think this is a powerful week that I hope you're gonna make sure that you unfold your leadership capacity. You already have been given a number of challenges today, and I hope you're going to apply them in your leadership journeys. But gosh, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for what you're going to do. I'm excited for what you're going to achieve this week. I'm excited for what your mind is going to come up with. And much more so, I'm excited for what your teams are going to accomplish, because definitely you've got a tip that says what's in it for them. And you're definitely going to be able to change some courses. Otherwise, keep unfolding your leadership capacity. And good night. Thank you, Dr. Charles, and thank you to everyone.